Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. You are now attending an ePerformance information webinar. The ePerformance puts on these webinars on a regular basis, typically focused on CRM to provide you with more information on what's going on in the CRM space. ePerformance is a public sector software solutions company focusing on things like department-wide architectures for Dynamics CRM, CRM government portal solutions, CRM solutions in the area of grants, contracts, regulatory, and so forth, and CRM training courses and services. So typically the webinars you see, we often have corresponding training courses that you can also take to provide a more in-depth understanding of the topic. So today we have two presenters, myself, Eric Elaine. I'm a CRM enterprise architect. We're very pleased to have Veljko Vidovic from DevAmmo with us. Veljko is a CRM portal architect with a lot of experience in developing portals that extend Dynamics CRM. So our agenda for today is we'll talk a little bit about what web portals are. We're going to focus in on government client web portals, which are a type of web portal, and even take a closer look at government web portal models. We will have a few case studies here showing different examples of web portal models, and then we'll kind of summarize. This seminar was put together in response to feedback from a number of agencies that we deal with who are using ADXstudio to create portals that extend Dynamics CRM, and we're looking for practical examples and some idea of what other people are doing with portals on Dynamics CRM. So we would like you, if possible, to save your questions to the end. I think we can be a little bit more efficient that way. We'll be happy to take questions after we finish the presentation. So understanding web portals. So a portal is an electronic gateway, to provide a collection of digital files or online services or information. It's something that's accessible over either the intranet or the internet through a web browser. Now, portals are not necessarily an exact science, as we've been finding out over the past 7 or 8 years of developing them. And there are many types. For example, and the list you see here, we have personal portals, like we're all familiar with things like LinkedIn and Facebook and so forth. We also have corporate portals, corporate internet portals that are typically used to replace the newsletter and provide employees and staff information on what's going on within corporations. We have cultural portals, which are often collections and galleries of things. There are portals, which are vertical portals that focus on perhaps a vertical industry sector like real estate is a very typical developer of portals. We also have VIPs, or vertical information portals, which are more multimedia based. We see these types of portals with, say, Rogers Cable, that sort of thing. E-commerce portals for things like government tendering, client portals, for example, shopping sites, and then our focus for today, which are government client portals, or what some people call citizen portals. So focusing in on that, government client portals, what are the characteristics? So they must be secure and private. They provide client self-service to, say, browse for information, register as a client, request information, access online services, even conduct business transactions that might involve collecting fees, submitting requests for grants or loans or so forth. Government client portals can and will enable social media interaction, and they also govern the customer experience, and we'll talk a bit more about that. So on this slide here, CRM has opened the door for a much richer electronic engagement with clients. CRM tools provide government staff with the ability to profile and engage clients electronically. So, we see that the federal government, for example, is planning to invest in a big way in CRM across many different business areas. So that gives these different business areas the ability to collect client data, do client management, have much richer client engagement through the electronic abilities of CRM. But this is a very government-centric thing. Adding client portals to an agency CRM solution empowers the clients to now become involved and access government services electronically. But this also creates a client expectation for a level of service. So on the right, we see something called client experience management. Once you, put that portal out there, you now kind of have a responsibility to provide an electronic service that's a good experience for the client, because the client has a different perspective than the internal users of a CRM system. They're looking for self-service capability, They're looking for insight onto what the service is and what it can provide for them, so what value it would provide to them. So they're taking a very client-centric approach. And we know that, you know, typical public that are coming to an online government portal are often have a short attention span. They don't read instructions. So you really, you need a system or a set of features that makes things very intuitive and guides them through the various business rules associated with delivering a service electronically. So how do we build portals for this capability? At this point, I'm going to hand it over to an expert who's going to talk a little bit about the different types of portal models that we see out there in the client base.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Valko Vidovic, and yeah, I will continue where Eric stopped, going a bit deeper into the types of portals and you know what their general features are. So in general, we can talk about two models that we have with portals, and one is loosely coupled model, and the second one is data-driven portal. In next couple of slides, I will actually go into more details of each of these. If we look at the major what is the major thing that distinguishes these two is that DDM, data-driven model, is usually coming as a out-of-the-box solution. So it's a bunch of templates that you can use, and it's usually using the CRM portals, CRM forms that are presented on the portal. Very good example of this kind of portals is ADXstudio portals. It's also mentioned that it's now called CRM portals. What happened is that ADXstudio has been purchased recently by Microsoft, and now the branding name is CRM portals. There are also some other differences that I will mention after. The other model, the other type of portals that we have is ones that are based on loosely coupled model. So with this model, what is important is that it's offering more advanced portal features. It usually requires more development, and one of the major differences is that there is a local separate database that is storing and managing the portal data. In the first one, data-driven model, usually the whole everything is encapsulated on the CRM, so there is no other data storage than the CRM itself. So I will also show you here the there are three cases that we picked up. The first one is the first and second one are actually built. It's a data-driven model examples, and the third one will be a loosely coupled one. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the CT311 service. This is again a data-driven example of data-driven model. It's built with ADXstudio and ADXstudio portals, and it's actually one of the examples that ADXstudio has on its own site, so you can have more information if you go there. So these are some of the features that ADXstudio portals in general has, and then these are actually also part of the example, the case that we are going to go through. You can see that there is first authentication and profile management as one of the very important features. Configure and create is easy, and it's, as I said, comes out of the box, and it's easy to do from the either back end or front end. So meaning you can do it either from the CRM or you can do it from the portal itself if you have a role that allows you that. There is integrated content management. There is integrated forms and discussions. Custom branding and responsive design is also one of the features that is important. Also, ADXstudio portals comes with some vertical solutions. You can see some of these presented on this slide. There is a citizen services, permit licenses and grants, emergency management, and social citizen engagement. It's important to mention that since they tend to be general, and it's a lot of different clients can use these. These are not very detailed in a sense that probably for most of the users there is some customization that has to be done on top of it. It's very good to start with these and then enhance them, with the features needed for a specific application. In this, it's as I mentioned, that the ADXstudio portals was purchased by Microsoft last fall, so fall 2015. The name has been changed to the CRM portals now, and not all of the vertical solutions are present currently in the new CRM portals. Microsoft is pushing hard to integrate more of these vertical solutions in, but currently there is only a few available. The Hillsborough County basically was built very rapidly. Really, it was built only in 12 weeks. It's a very low total cost of ownership. One of the main features was that it is very accessible, available on different devices, mobile devices, and it has very simple forms that are filled up by the clients, in this case citizens, and that are submitted to the backend, where the backend people working on these cases can respond quickly. I will go shortly just to the website, just to show you how it looks like. So you can see this is under each of these squares there is a form that citizens are filling up. I will open any of these, and then we can see how the form looks like. So you can see the first part is about the contact information. So it's a simple form with several very simple text fields, like the first, last name, phone number, email address, mobile number. Then the second is about the location, so the location of the incident, so the mandatory address line, and then city, state, province, and latitude and longitude if needed. This map is dynamic, so when you actually put the address, it will automatically zoom and show you where that is on the map, where the location is. Then is the date, and small the field for the description, attachment of the file, and submission. So it's really very, very simple form, and if you look at any of the others, you will see that they're very, very alike. It's basically the same form, just in different, probably having a couple of different fields. Like here we have details, and but in general, very, very easy and simple forms. Not a lot of logic also on these forms. There is some basic validation that is done. Definitely the mandatory fields, like if I would try to submit, it will let me know that what are the mandatory fields, and so that's the basic of the how this application was built. So as you could see, this is a typical case of data-driven model. Basically, there is very simple entities that are connected to the forms. The forms that you've seen are actually built on the backside in the CRM, and they are presented with some extra customization. They are presented on the front end. Moving forward, I would like to also say something about the other type of the DDM portals. One of them is so they're fall in the group of extended data-driven model portals. The example for this is biosecurity portal. It was built by Health Canada, and it has a bit more complicated requirements than the previous portal. So there are some more complicated forms that needed to be done. And I will also go to the demonstrations to show you how the portal looks like. So first about the objectives, the biosecurity portal, or the code name for it during development was iStop, is a portal that allows public health employees to administer and enforce legislation, but it also allows the third parties to actually submit the applications. And it's about the using, handling, and disposal of human pathogens and toxins across Canada. This project was started because the new legislation came out last year in December about the using and handling and about the licensing of the human pathogens and toxins, and that was the drive to create this portal. What is important to say is that it took about 4 to 5 many years to develop. So it was 4 developers. Well, it was 3 developers that were working full time, and then there were developers that were coming in and going out from the project. But I would estimate it at 4 to 5 many years of development. So it's pure development without the requirements gathering and other people that also were part of the project. So I'm mentioning that because, as I said, this is not out of the box solution. It was using ADXstudio portals, but it was quite extended. So the public portal objectives were to offer anonymous access to material that was publicly accessible, then also to provide restricted access to regulated parties, to manage organizational information and delegation of authority, making applying for license available, and to create and revise incident reports. So it was on the front side, on the portal side. On the back end, which means basically CRM, it was for Health Canada employees to review and approve license applications or amendments, to read and extract any data submitted via the external portal, perform user access rights, then create, revise, and approve incidents and annual reports, and manage generic correspondence. I will go now to the portal. So you will see first, actually, when we go there, it will be redirected to the GC keys. So one of the features that had to be implemented was a GC key and integration with it. So it's also, I forgot to mention that it's fully bilingual, so it's in English and French. So I will choose English here. I'm still not hitting the biosecurity portal. I'm still on the GC key side, so I will just log in with the GC key. So when I sign in now, it will just give me the note that this was last time I was logged in, and if I want to change the password, and but still, after clicking actually continue, I will be going to the biosecurity portal. So on the biosecurity portal, I will be. This is the profile form. So this is the kind of first form that you are able to see. So in here, first there is some terms and conditions that have to be read and have to be accepted. And then there is the access code, right? So here since I don't have the access code because I'm not party that, well, I'm not allowed to go anymore because my company is not doing any business that would have this need a license. I'll show you. I'll just go back actually to the slides here. So this was the second slide, so the GC key. So this is how it actually looks when you log in for the first time. So it would ask for the access key that I am provided if the Health Canada on the back end, if they find out that I should have the access as a regulated party to the website. But before I'm screened out, there is this main form that is a profile form that I would fill up. So it would ask me about, am I the license holder? I would select the risk group that I'm belonging to. There is also the language and preferences, my first, last name. So it's quite a complex form. This is basically the bottom of the form. There is, the secret key also, and then information that I would like to receive. So all of that after, submitting this, I will be presented with the next page. Thank you for signing up, and then also I will be getting the confirmation email. So this is the email that I got when I submitted my personal information in. So there is around 10 to 15 forms that are on the website. As I said, it's secured. It's only possible to access these forms as a regulated party. I cannot unfortunately show it right now, but is the main things to remember here are that there is additional features that have been done are GC key integration. That there was also second factor authentication, so Entrust product was used for that. There's different levels of regulated parties that are accessing the portal, and in case of a group that is working with specific toxins and materials, they would need to have the second factor authentication. There is also SharePoint authentication that is used for submitting when on the portal documents are submitted. They would go to the SharePoint repository. The website is fully WCAG compliant. We were using one of the previous version of ADXstudio. In the meantime, ADXstudio improved quite a bit on the WCAG. However, we decided to go with the custom-built pages for several reasons. One of them was that in the time that we started the project, it was not fully WCAG compliant. The second also was that our forms were more complicated, and we could not just create a CRM form that would be easily presented on the portal side. Also, one of the reasons going with this kind of customization was that the logic on the form was much more complicated that we could do by just creating the form on the CRM backend and then basically rendering it on the portal. So there had to be customization on the forms and so we had to go with the custom-built forms and then just using the ADXstudio portal features for other things like the caching and the basic connection to the CRM, etc. But in general, we had to do quite a bit of work on building the forms. As I said, the requirements were much more complex than format in the first case that I showed. So I will, from here, I will go back to Eric, and he will speak about the next case. So just hang for a second.
Well, thank you, Belko. Those are a couple of really interesting examples of what you can do with ADX Portal in a data-driven portal model. Now we're going to talk about another case study, Canadian Heritage Government Client Portal, that's based on the loosely coupled model. So Heritage has 57 public-facing services. They deliver $1 billion in grants and contributions through 9,000 projects or cases annually, funded cases. They're also in the process of redesigning their business processes and are now looking at a reduction in file processing time of 25%, really made possible by things with an enterprise portal. So this slide that we're looking at here just kind of gives a high-level view of Heritage's developing this portal. So they selected Dynamics CRM as a department client and case management for grants and contributions. So they made that investment. They also, at the same time, began an initiative to redesign and simplify their G&C program delivery processes to get that sort of reduction in processing time that I referred to earlier. So they wanted to implement an e-submission portal to provide a consistent experience for all online services to clients of the department. But they wanted it to operate independently of CRM because they were evolving CRM or plan to evolve CRM to take in these new business processes over time. So on the CRM side, officers would be assessing, processing awards, generating agreements, monitoring various aspects of the G&C process, where on the portal side, the public would be applying for various programs, getting access to the programs, tracking the progress of their applications, and providing reports along the way. So this type of capability that the public required, as I mentioned earlier, the public, the type of functionality you need to provide to them needs to be fairly intuitive, and you need to guide them through the kinds of business rules and things that are associated with submitting an application to a program. So those were the objectives for the Heritage online portal. So as we go to the next slide, we see some key requirements that drove the need for a loosely coupled model versus a data-driven model. So I'll just step through these. So they needed a high security portal, government protected B, which usually requires that the applicants that are coming onto the system are working in a different area than say the officers of the CRM system. They wanted a portal component that could operate independently of the back office CRM system. And this is for reasons of access to information, for consistent client experience year over year or across programs. So in other words, they wanted a consistent client experience while CRM was evolving to add new programs or change the business processes. They wanted something that was independent, secure, and scalable, up to 4,000 submissions. You may remember the story of Obamacare when they implemented an online system, an online government client portal for health services, and it crashed when thousands of people tried to hit the submit button at the same time. So it's for the same reason the type of user base you have externally coming to a portal is quite different, quite larger, different demands than what you'll have on the CRM office use side. So the way that you manage performance of a portal component in these areas where there's high volumes of submissions is a little bit different than the way you would manage things on the CRM side. So that, again, is another reason for looking at a loosely coupled model. We also wanted self-service history and profiling for the applicant. So they wanted the applicant to be able to own the data. They wanted them to have their own account to be able to submit multiple submissions to multiple programs year over year. So to accomplish this, they needed advanced submission management. So an application submission portfolio, for example, to manage the 50-plus programs and hundreds of submission form types that are required at Heritage Canada. The ability to do submission amendments. So often a submission will come in, an application for a grant, for example, and something needs to be changed. So the officer needs to be able to request that the applicant resubmit that submission with the changes. So sounds like it's simple, it's a very typical thing, but technically a loosely coupled model manages this type of thing a little bit better than a data-driven model. They also wanted the ability to do submission form authoring and have a template library. So if they were to configure hundreds of forms in CRM, that would be a much bigger task than saying having a specialized service for portal-based submissions in a loosely coupled model. So submission management was key. Now, what we find in general in government programs is that there are many application forms types, and 80% of the data that programs need to run their services come from the applications that are coming in. So, and each online service requires a series of connected submissions throughout a service life cycle. For example, think of the application form as being the key submission into a program. It's actually only one submission form in typically a cycle of forms. So it may be followed by an online agreement. It may be followed then by an interim progress report, and then perhaps a final report. And each submission carry information forward. They cascade information forward, and this information is updated and changed throughout the life cycle. So again, here's a requirement that requires some extra capability that's not typical in a CRM form, which would be more typical of a data-driven model. Okay, so the final solution that the loosely coupled portal model that Heritage went with extended CRM to provide an advanced e-submission service. So PCH or Heritage Canada chose to adopt a pre-built e-submission component that could be integrated with Dynamics CRM and could also incorporate the CRM portal features that Microsoft would be adding in the future. So if we look at the key capabilities of this service, it had a submission portfolio. Applicants can manage submissions to multiple programs. They could reuse submissions for, say, renewals and things like that. It supported the submission lifecycle, so multiple forms could be included in the program lifecycle, not just an application form, but the many submission forms that are required. And we had the ability to cascade data forwards, or, for example, a budget that was submitted in the application could be presented later in an interim progress report to collect actual financial data associated with the original financial estimates. And also the ability to do in-band requests. So if, for example, an applicant needed to withdraw their application, they would be able to send in a special request that would go directly to the CRM case management capability, and an officer would be able to deal with that withdrawal through CRM functionality. So I have a few example screens here to help illustrate what the portal looked like. If anybody wants to follow up and would like to see a more detailed demonstration of the Heritage system, we can certainly make arrangements for that. We don't have enough time today. We just want to highlight a few areas of the portal. So what we're looking at here is the login screen. So the login requires a Canadian government GC key, very much like the examples that Belko showed you in the data-driven models. And once registered and logged in, the portal uses the contact management capability of CRM to manage all the portal users. So although it's a loosely coupled model allowing the system to run independently of CRM, it's also highly synchronized, so that the data that's in the portal that needs to be in CRM is automatically updated in both areas. Then moving on to, this is an example of what a typical applicant would see in what we call a submission portfolio. So Information on online programs such as program descriptions and the necessary submission forms are managed in CRM and published to the portal, and an applicant can get access to them in this area. They could view the programs, they could select the program, they could see which submissions are required to submit to that program, they can grab those submissions and complete them. So in the background, CRM automatically updates the portal with the latest program and submission form information on a day-to-day basis. So when a user or applicant submits an application to a program through the portal, CRM receives that application, logs a submission receipt record, and sends an email acknowledgement to the applicant that the application has been received and is being processed. So in that example, CRM is doing all the business rule stuff. It's managing the workflow process. It's using the client engagement capability of CRM to engage the client, and the portal is just doing the heavy lifting on the submission side. So it's recording all submissions that have been entered. It's allowing the applicant to have a record of them and copy them forward and obviously register to many programs and complete many submissions. So moving on, we now see an example of the summary form associated with each application. So in this loosely coupled model, the administrator of the system is able to create many different types of submission forms, keep them in the library, and apply them to various types of programs. And so like the paper application paradigm, each submission form is made up of multiple pages and sections that are required by each individual program or service. If you were to drill down on one of these sections we're seeing in this example here, then you would be presented with a detailed set of questions or information fields that need to be completed. So some key points to note here is that all information is kept in the portal and owned by the applicant until it's needed by the program. This helps with access to information as the program need not report on applicant info unless it takes ownership of the data in CRM. So typically how Heritage uses this portal is they leave the information in the domain of the applicant. They just bring over information that's key to the processing of that form, and only that information may be subject to ATIP. The portal manages high levels of applicants, users completing submissions without involving CRM. So that allows the Heritage from an administrative side to load balance the system, as we talked about earlier, avoid the Obamacare scenario, where you have 4,000 applicants hitting the submit button at the same time. And it also allows CRM to evolve independently of what's going on the public-facing side. Client ownership of applicant data makes maintaining protected B security levels easier as well. So these features are difficult to create in a data-driven portal model, which is why Heritage went with more of a loosely coupled model. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Velko to drill down a bit more on the technical aspects of these models.
Thanks, Eric. So I will be in the next couple of slides. I'll try to give you the highlights of the main difference between the data-driven model versus the loosely coupled. So here's basically the list of advantages, and I will say pros and cons, but it's really more the list that anyone should go through and see what are the requirements, how the requirements are matching the one or the other group of the models. So first, talking about the data-driven models, it's really very good for simple and rapid deployments. So in the first case study that I showed, when you have very simple forms, very simple validation on the form, it's really good to go with this kind of products, because you will very easily and very quickly come to the will have your portal up and running. In DDM models, there is really a tightly coupled CRM. Well, there is a tight integration between the entities and entity development. So you also have to. It's again pro and cons, right? So it's depending on how do you want. Are your CRM entities already finished? Do you have a very good understanding on how they're going to look like and what are the fields? and what are the relationship with the other entities. If you all have that all before you start make the portal, then it's again, DDM is a very good way to go. The ADXstudios come with the ADXstudio portals come with the integrated authentication. So there is a support. One of the things is also that it supports GC key. It does not support it out. There is some configuration that has to be done, but it's really very, very light. It's quite easy. Then there is one of the features is that there is it will automatically, so that this type of portal is which is important. It will automatically project CRM entities and CRM entity forms actually to a public-facing form, to the portal. There is a good alignment with the Dynamics CRM products roadmap, usually with these kind of products. The visibility editing of the content is possible both on the front and back end. So either you can edit the content on the CRM, or you can do the same if the role is assigned to you. You can also do it on the front end. There is also access to the Microsoft developed portal service solution templates. As I said, this usually come with a different type of templates. Some of them can fit your needs very good. In case you can see that there is a lot of development has to be done. It's one also of the good reasons to start thinking of the other type of the portals, so the loosely coupled ones. So some of the features of the loosely coupled, there is advanced usability and customer experience. There is also much easier to do performance balancing because there is loosely coupled, so you're not coupled tightly with the back end, in this case CRM. There is a higher level of security and privacy. As I think Eric mentioned, there is if you have the issue with the submission data not being that the submission data cannot actually be transferred to the back end before the submission. So before the whole submission process is done, then it's also one of the things where you want to consider loosely coupled. In a DDM model, all the data is always in the CRM, so you don't have another storage for it. So it means that even you can control that with the roles, but physically this data is going to be in the backend even before the submission. So the CRM side version upgrades and development will not impact the external client experience, and that's because only the subset of the data is moved from the portal to the backend, to the CRM. Public-facing services also can operate independently of CRM. This is one of the very important features. In first model, if your CRM goes down and if it's not accessible for any reason, then your portal is also not going to be accessible because it needs it for functioning. In a LCM or loosely coupled model, you can still have subset of features working even without the backend. And then there is also synchronous or delayed submissions to the back office. As Eric pointed out, when we want to queue the submissions because of the times, when you have the high number of users on the front end, it's also much easier to do with loosely coupled model. So here is, I will just show you how the data flow looks like and what are the main differences. Again, it's really high-level view of it. So in a data-driven model, basically everything goes through this double-sided arrow. So all the website metadata, all the page metadata, so all the metadata that is connected to, well, that is displayed on your portal. Cache management is also done through that same connection. Submission data also goes there. So anything there should be 3 dots, after, because there is really a lot of other things that are going, like content itself, like the labels. So everything that has to do with the rendering of the web page on the portal, we will go through that single connection, and it is direct connection. So you cannot, you really need direct connection between your portal server and your CRM server. In a loosely coupled model, there is this differentiation how the data is handled. So you can see that there is the first difference is there is always a portal database, so that there is always another database that is handling the data for the portal. And so all the metadata and the page metadata, caching also, and also submission data before the submission, actually after, but definitely it will not go to the CRM until it's submitted, will be on this portal database. Then once the submission is done, then the subset of the data will go to the CRM server, and you can see that we can add proxy server here. We can do the queuing of this data and do much more with it, so that once it comes to the CRM server, it's less data that is needed than in the case of the DDM. Also, very important thing to consider is that in the case of LCM portal, it is possible to also use the enterprise service bus, right? So that all this proxying and queuing that I was mentioning is done through the enterprise service bus, and so your portal will be able to access in the proper way other subsystems in your environment. One of the main issues with the DDM is also that you have to think about security and the zones. How are you going to manage this? It is really this direct connection between the DDM portal and the CRM is really something that can be a deal breaker, right? In a case that you just cannot make it available all the time, right? Either because of the performance or either because of the security. So here I will also mention something that is possible to do, and it is basically a mix. It's a hybrid solution that basically incorporates best of both worlds. You can see that here there is integration between basically LCM and DDM, so the loosely coupled model and data-driven model, and we are using the loosely coupled model for part of the portal features. So like we will be using it for GNCs, case management, client profiling, stakeholder management. So all this can be done with the LCM approach, and that would be mapping to the GNC entities and case management entities, and then some shared entities, in this case like contacts and other entities that be shared between both models, right? So both parts of the portal. In the common portal services that can be implemented with the data-driven would be simple forms. It could be, for example, customer care, events management, community content. So some of the features that are coming either out of the box or that are very simple to develop, that does not need complex forms, complex logic on the forms. In this case, we have the mapping between common portal services to the ADXstudio. For example, if ADXstudio is used, template entities or custom entities, and you can also see that we'll have different sets of workflows and plugins that will be running on each of these entities. So that being said, this is the last slide of our presentation. You're welcome with the questions, and Eric and myself will be happy to answer any of these. Thanks.
So thanks, Veljko. We're pretty excited about the fact that Microsoft has purchased ADXstudios and is now baking it into CRM, and we're waiting to see how these features will come out in the next few versions of CRM. So the hybrid approach that Veljko has illustrated there is probably what we think is a great architecture to go with. So you can, if you need an advanced portal right away, you can get that type of capability going right away and then incorporate the CRM portals features as they come out. So the chat lines are now open. We'll stay on for a few minutes to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, thanks very much for joining us today.
So, there's a question about the scaling of ADXstudio with that. So, as I mentioned, right now ADXstudio is in version 7.0.22, which is that's the current full version. On an example that I was talking about, it was actually done with the previous version of ADXstudio. In 7.0.11, there was quite a bit of change that has been done. So the main, as I said, in the case of the Health Canada, all the forms have been done from the ground, so we haven't been using CRM forms. Again, with the ADXstudio portals, the main idea is to build a form in the CRM, and then on the front end, the .NET, the ASP.NET application that is running as a portal would be picking up these forms and basically rendering them and showing them, on the portal. These are not completely WCAG compliant, right? So, it was, we had the issue, as I said, ADXstudio was working very hard on fixing a lot of these issues, and a lot of these issues have been fixed. But since we wanted to make it very compliant and be completely compliant, we were building all our forms from the scratch. So again, in this solution, there was no forms in CRM that have been done that are just presented on the front end. What has happened is that we built separate ASPX pages on the web ASP.NET application, and then we built the forms from the ground up.
So we have a question: are the LCM solutions always built from scratch, or are there offerings that are similar to ADXstudio? So the example that we showed you today with Heritage Canada is a government off-the-shelf solution, a GOT solution. It was built in conjunction with a number of federal agencies and is now a template for reuse. So you can start with something, as Veljko mentioned, it's whether you're working with a DDM solution or an LCM solution, it's good to start with something that's pre-built to a large extent, and then you just tune it for your individual needs. So yes, and I think we'll see there are a number of LCM solutions out there. Some of them are very much productized, and others are a framework that allow you to rapidly build a solution. And if you have any specific questions or specific types of vertical solutions that you're looking for, we may be able to help you find those.